Welcome to Sustainable Global Entrepreneurship. This is the instructions for quarter 2. Today we're in my kitchen, so I hope there's not too much noise. And what we're going to do is run you through all the decisions and new features in the simulation in this quarter. So let's have a look at what we can expect in quarter 2. In this quarter, we're going to the test market. So please remember, it's about getting the decisions right, not to maximize profits. Yes, we do need to start growing, start selling, but it's for learning purposes. Most of your decisions will not be okay. So you will adjust them in the third and the fourth quarter. So if you go too big, you might end up in too big problems. So try to grow, but at a slow pace. So what's new? We're now in the second quarter. We have our printing facilities, so we're going to the test market. We're going to set our selling prices. Also, we're going to create ads. Please design at least 2 for each brand that you have. You also need to decide where to place these ads and how many, and maybe set up web marketing. The other thing is we're going to develop a distribution strategy. So you're going to hire salespeople and maybe open some sales outlets. So we'll not discuss all because some of the features you already know, but we go through the most important. So, another thing is also what we're going to do. We're going to look at the HR component of our simulation. So we're going to look at compensation packages. The compensation packages have pretty much 4 categories. So salary, basic pay, health benefits, so health insurance is a part of that, holiday leave, and also pension contributions. So these are the 4, pretty much the 4 variables you can play with. And it's about balancing them all based on what the workers want. We're going to schedule production. This is the most complex feature of your simulation because you have to forecast demand, set up your capacity, decide if you want to run overtime, yes or no, check if all the numbers work. Also, you want to maybe buy some market research to know what your customers want, but maybe more important, what your competition is doing. And you want to check the basic finance if you will not lose too much money. Remember, in the beginning, we're not making money yet. So please remember that you're a market maker, not a market taker. What does it mean? The market is not out there looking for you to take their orders. No, you come with a new product, 3D printed bicycles, so you must create a market. So you need to go to your customers and make a brand that they want. Also make sure that you select a price that they're willing to pay. Also figure out where the most customers are. So find a location where it's easier to sell. But still, you need to inform and persuade your customers with that. And you need to have salespeople. Salespeople are employees that are making a sale, so they can actually persuade customers to actually buy it. So of course, it's about balancing these 4 bullets out. So how to set a price? So there are different means. So first of all, you have cost. We discussed that in the knowledge section on finance. So you have production, marketing, and overhead cost. And if your revenues, you want your revenues to cover that. You can also look at profit goals, maybe not yet for now. What the market will bear, so what will people pay, or price just below competition. All might work, you need to find the right one. So in the beginning, remember, you're not able to price above your total cost. That's why I put indirect there. Of course, you can sell above material cost. If you're not selling above material cost, please stop immediately. However, you have many startup costs in the beginning, low sales, so you will not be able to exceed your revenues yet. Your production volumes are low, high cost to unit. So do not only look at that, because if your production volume increases, the indirect cost component of your unit cost will go down. If you understand this, great. If this is too far-fetched, no worry. It will become clear, but the thing is, if you sell more, it's easier to cover cost. In the beginning, you're just not selling more, so accept that you will making a loss. Let's show this in a line. So in the beginning, if we look at the cost, you have quite some cost, and there's a base load. The cost will increase, but pretty much the base load you have, even if you do nothing, you have costs for certain activities. You just have to accept them. So if we then look at your revenues in the previous quarter 1, we had no sales. In quarter 2, we're going to try. You'll see that your revenues will fall below the cost in the beginning. So if we look at this in profit-wise, you are in the red zone. Everyone is in the red zone. It's okay to be in the red triangle. However, you want to get to the blue triangle. And if possible, as soon as possible. And that's the game you want to play. You need to balance all your decisions to move from the red triangle to the blue triangle. The profits, they will come. And of course, the sooner, the better, because you can then, start increasing your growth path and look at all the conscious or sustainable components and also do better on those. But that's not your focus for now. Your focus for now is to build a brand. Remember, this is where we are in the introduction phase. When we move to the growth phase, profit will come. So, what will the customers want to pay for your bike? So, if you look into the simulation, there's overviews of what people are willing to pay. Remember, that is the maximum they are willing to pay. For a perfect bike, I do not think that at this phase of your simulation, your bike is perfect. So you might want to lower the price a bit until you have your bike set up the way it should be. So if your demand will decrease if your price is higher. The cheaper, the more you sell. So if you lower your price and your sales do not change, we call this inelastic. So price is not a big factor. So giving discounts, etc., there's no reason to. However, if you lower your price and your demand rises, or the other way around, so as shown in this picture, if you raise your price and your demand drops hard, it's elastic. So then price is an important factor for your customers. So this is good to know for each segment you're focusing on, how important is price for your customer. However, you can, of course, you go from elastic to less elastic by adding differential advantages. So make your brand a premium brand with a reputation, features no one has later in R&D, etc., etc. So the better your brand is later in the game, the less elastic your price setting will become. So if you're not doing that well, you probably face a very elastic price and you do not want to raise it as a management tool. So how will the market respond to your competitor prices? Remember, you play the simulation in an interactive, connected market. So if all your competitors have lower prices, although the market is willing to pay your price, they are not going to pay it as the competitor offers it cheaper. So low competitor prices will kill your demand. So please buy market intel and figure out what the others are doing. You can have a higher price if your product is better. If it's not better, make sure your price is lower. Also be careful that you do not throw your market into a race to the bottom, as it will be harder for all. However, making price agreements amongst each other is not allowed, of course. So, after you've set your price, and you will see that every quarter you need to adjust this and you get better at it, we have to create ads. So how does it work? So you do not have to be very creative, you just have to select what to place where in the ad. So the most important at the top, the least important down the road, and the order implies how important you think it is. So that's quite basic. However, how much will you put in your ad? What do you think about this? Is this too cluttered or is this clear? You need to figure out what you believe is best, but also what your market wants. Yeah? So this has 73 total interface elements. I think it's a bit much. You see here, this is a bit less, again a bit less, only a little. But what is right? What is right is depending to the customer. So figure it out. There will be a response function at work. Yeah? So more is good to a certain point, and then, the excitement pretty much goes out. So it doesn't matter if you have 4, 5, or 6, 1, 2, or 3 too low. Or we have the other one where we're looking at a certain optimum point. So if you do not have enough, it's not okay. But if you have too many, it's not okay. So please play with this and figure out what the order is. Again, if you have troubles here, you can buy Market Intel to see what the others are doing. So you have created your perfect ad, maybe in the first quarter, the second quarter, maybe in the third or fourth. But now you still have to decide, how often do you advertise? So in a whole city or entire continent, one ad will not make it. It's too little. So as you see in this overview, if you have too little, there's no effect. Then there will be the middle point where you see that every ad you have more will help you sell more. But there will also be a point where pretty much the market knows about it. There are enough ads. So if you have more, there's no added value anymore. So again, you need to figure out how many ads you need, and of course in which channel. So there's quite some market information you need to analyze to come to the right decision. If you read well, you figure it out. Then of course the competitors are also come into play. If you are in a market where the competitors all have a lot of ads, you need to have more for the same effect. If your competitors are not having any ads, just a few will do it. So besides balancing it out on the information, also include market intel to figure out what's going on. So if you have good ads, but you see that it's the effect is dropping, probably your competitors have more. So you have your product, you have your price, you have the ads. So now we need to figure out salespeople. The salespeople are in your shop or wherever they are, and they are going to close the deal for you. They are going to pretty much put the order to the printer. If you do not have salespeople, you can't sell. So salespeople, if you have one or two, if you have two, you will double pretty much your sales. If you have 4, you double your sales again, etc., etc. However, there will be a point where there's so many salespeople in your shop that the customer doesn't fit through the door anymore. So balance it out. But especially in the beginning, a few more salespeople will not hurt. It will help you getting towards the blue triangle of profits. But balance it out. Also make sure that if you add salespeople, that you also add printing capacity, because if you are able to sell bikes but you can't deliver, this will be very bad for the brand reputation. Then you just saw on the previous slide here pretty much the demand curve, but we can shift the demand curve. You can shift it upwards if you have your prices, your advertising, your web tactics, your brands better. So you see, it's not only the number of salespeople, no, it's the salespeople will be enabled by all other decisions. So you need to pretty much balance things out, and in your team with all competences, figure out what will be the golden formula to move your line upwards, as better revenues will make your simulation easier. So one of the elements which is in there is also the human resources. So we have the human resources, which I said before. We have wages, health benefits, vacation time, and pension. And more compensation just leads to higher costs. Remember that. However, the other side of the higher cost is that the productivity goes up, the job satisfaction goes up, the quality of your product goes up because they make less mistakes. So find the right balance. Also make sure that there's some kind of equality. So you have salespeople, you have working people, you have supervisors. If the differences are too big, they start thinking, what's going on? Why do I get so much less? That will not work. So look at equitable compensation. Also check, of course, what others are doing, but you want to up it. Here is something which is a bit different than in real life. My apologies for the coffee machine. So what's different in real life is they expect changes every quarter, where you in your part-time job probably do not get a raise every quarter. I mean, you might be happy with once a year. This is where the simulation really deviates. So the coffee is ready. So also look at the morale. So are they treated well? Is there pride in working for your firm? So later the sustainable choices you have are really important for this motivation. So also projecting demands. It's based on the forecast. And now we get to the finance bit where, of course, you need to make sure that although you will be losing money, you do not run out of cash. If you run out of cash, we have serious issues for the continuity of your firm. So you need to project demand. So in the beginning, your product isn't perfect, your price isn't perfect, your ads are probably not that great, and your salespeople are not that trained. So do not think that they will be doing miracles overnight. So be safe. In the beginning, probably 20 or 30 will be what they sell. If you do really bad, it's lower. If you start off good, it's higher. You might have some stock outs, but you're forgiven for that in the beginning pretty much. So on average, a salesperson will sell between 30 and 70 units. Some of you will actually have double in the last quarters, but you will grow, so you were able to project demand in that as well. So if you know your demand and if you have set your price, you can pretty much, project your revenues. Then you can look with those demands at your factory simulation. Factory simulation is be found in the menu on the left of your game, and you can load all data. There's just a button, load data, and it will show you what happens. So you can play a bit with the numbers, change some things to get the most optimum decision, and then you can look at your pro forma cash flow. Remember that most of your predictions are probably off. So the ending cash position, you probably want to be 500,000 safe in the scenario you have. I mean, if you have a more optimistic scenario, you go, your results will be better, you spend more the next quarter. You can also prepare a pessimistic scenario by just changing the demand figures, keeping the rest the same. If you do that, between 200,000 and 300,000 will be your outcome. You can also look at a worst case scenario by setting demand at 25 in totals, or just consider your fixed cost demand of 0. Look at the numbers, how bad will it be? And there maybe you want to aim at a number around 0. You can be careful in the beginning. No worries about that. The moment you get the hang of it this quarter and then following quarters, you can catch up. So remember, you're in the red, we're moving towards the blue, but that's not possible in this quarter, so don't even try. So what are your main learning points? Where should you focus on in this quarter? I mean, you've shown you so many decisions, and you're in a team and everyone will probably have a role, but you need to align your choices. Yeah? So make sure that your growth, your ads, your pricing, your HR strategy that it pretty much is aligned. In the end, make sure that you have cash left. If you do not have enough cash, discuss, if you should try to sell more by maybe hiring another salesperson, or if you're overspending on ads or something else. Just raising the price might solve your problems on paper, but if they're not willing to pay, it actually increases your problem. So with your management team, talk it through and then present it to your coach to make sure that he or she is also convinced. Remember, learn to walk before you run. So the tactics, again, it's pricing, testing the market, the compensation, and production. If you have a few wrong, no problem. You can fix for the next quarter, but then pretty much it needs to be spending to move towards bigger growth in the fourth quarter. In the end, so check your projections. Your ending cash should be positive, probably pro forma around 500,000, maybe a bit less or a bit more. Try a second scenario, a bit more negative, see what happens. Your profits will be negative, do not worry about that. There will be chances later. So maybe you do want to already buy another printing machine. It will influence your cash position and your profits, but it is enabling you for future growth. If you do not spend, you will never get into the blue triangle. Yeah, if you overspend, it will slow in your path towards it as well. So maybe you already want to make some predictions for the future. If you enter a second market, you probably need more printers anyway. So please read the instructions in the simulation as well. Together with this instruction, you should be able to be ready for your coaching session. Thank you for joining, and the next video will be available before the next quarter. Thank you.